Are you reading and learning about personal development, or are you actually living it? There's a huge difference between the two, and it could be the reason why you're not seeing the changes that you want to in your life. I'm Sanj, and welcome to Master Your Mindset, Master Your Life. This is a podcast that helps you navigate life's challenges by helping you to master your mindset so you can master your life. If you get something from it, please share it with someone who you think would benefit from hearing it. I'd also really appreciate it if you could leave me a rating or a review. So this episode is for everyone out there who is on a self-development journey but may not be seeing the results that you're hoping for. This was me at one point. This was actually me at the very beginning of my journey. I was sitting there, I was consuming all this information, podcasts, books. I was doing the courses, but I just wasn't seeing all these changes that they were all talking about. Bruce Lee famously said, "Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do." So today I'm going to be talking to you about why simply consuming the information isn't enough, and why actual personal development is actually implementing it if you want to see the real changes. It may sound so obvious, but it's actually something that so few people do. By the end of this episode, hopefully you'll have a good understanding on what personal development really is, and I'll give you 5 practical ways to shift from just consuming the information to actually help you applying it in your life. So when we start on this personal development journey, most people, it's actually, we just believe that consuming the information actually equals personal development. So I see it all the time. People, they're reading the books, they're listening to the podcasts, they're watching motivational videos, they're doing the personal development work by courses. But don't get me wrong, this learning, this consuming the information, it is a key part of the growth, because you've got to have that knowledge behind it. But actually, the kicker is that consuming this knowledge is not actually the personal development part. The personal development part is actually the implementing it. Consuming knowledge isn't the same as implementing it. And why do so many of us fall into this trap of thinking that consuming the knowledge is personal development? The simple answer is it feels good. When you're learning, it gives you a dopamine hit. When you're reading an inspiring book, a motivational book, or you're listening to someone talk, giving you motivational speaking, giving you information, your brain gets a rush of dopamine. And it's the same, you receive it in the same way as you do when you achieve something. That rush actually tricks you into thinking that you've already made progress, when in fact all you've done is taken in information. The next reason is why it feels so good is it feels like you're doing the work. Because if you spend hours reading, it feels like you're investing in yourself. And it's almost like you actually confuse learning with the actual doing. But there's a massive difference between being inspired and taking consistent action. It's easy to stay in this comfortable cycle of consumption, because the hard part, implementing, is actually going to cost you time, energy and effort. It's hard. So do you know though that about only 10% of self-help readers actually follow through and make tangible changes based on the things they learn? 90% of the people who read the books, who take notes, and they feel great about doing it, they don't actually take the steps to apply it. And this is where I'm trying to help you change your mindset so you can actually start applying it. I'm going to try and help you break out of that 90% and get into the 10%. My aim is just to add value to the world. So this is how I want to try and do it. So let's start with what exactly is personal development and the impact it will have on your life. For me, it was profound impact. I started back at the very beginning of lockdown, and I found that actually I was enjoying consuming all this information. I was loving it. I was reading the books, I was doing the courses, I was taking the notes. And it was only when I got to like 2 or 3 months in did I realise, hold on, not that much has changed yet. And then I read something and all of a sudden it clicked. I needed to start putting it into action. And the moment I did, that's when I saw the changes. That's when I saw that everything was falling into place. That's when I started to improve, not just physically, mentally though as well. So let's break down what personal development really is, because it's more than just reading about how to be your best self. Personal development is the active process of improving yourself. It's about improving yourself in different various areas of your life, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. What it means is it involves you recognizing your potential, setting yourself goals, developing some new skills, and most importantly, and this is the most important thing, taking action to grow into the person you want to become. The key word is action. And if you want to think of it like this. Reading a book on fitness will not make you fit. You actually have to get up off the sofa. You have to go to the gym or start that run, do those push-ups. And the same goes for your mindset. You can't just read about confidence and all of a sudden you've got it. You've got to take those steps that stretch your comfort zone and build it in real life. The impact of real personal development is profound. It's huge. You gain clarity of what you actually want in your life. You build resilience because personal growth involves you pushing yourself out of your comfort zone and into the growth zone. You have to push through that discomfort. And most importantly, when you're actually committed to personal development, you create lasting change. When you actively work on self-development and implementing personal growth strategies, you actually start to feel more satisfied with life, and you're actually more likely to achieve your long-term goals. Personal development, though, is not something that once you do it once or once you do it for a while, it's done. No, personal development is an ongoing, active process. It's not something you achieve by sitting on the sidelines. It's not something you can do by looking at it through the window. No, you have to be in the game. You need to start implementing what you learn. And this is where a lot of people fall down. They'll read the books. You'll read it and you'll enjoy it. You'll take the notes. You'll underline it. You'll highlight it. But at the end of it, you will not change anything. You just now have that knowledge. Knowledge is not power, it's potential power. It's only when you start to take action on that knowledge, when you can take action, does it actually become power. It is so important to actually implement what you learn instead of just storing it up like a sponge. Knowledge without action is actually wasted potential. If you read 10 books on self-confidence but you still feel stuck in your insecurities, why? Because reading about self-confidence is not going to build your confidence. You have to practice confidence, putting yourself in situations that challenge your insecurities, by speaking up, by taking risks, by failing, by learning, by getting up. You need to build that resilience. So what happens when you don't implement this stuff? When you're sitting there reading it all the time, and you're just not doing anything with it, you actually get stagnation. You stay exactly where you are. All the reading, listening and watching in the world won't lead to any growth unless you start to act on it. You start to feel frustrated because you may start to feel like, oh yeah, I'm doing all this personal development, but it isn't working. But in reality, you haven't done anything. You've read it, but it isn't working because you're not applying it. You haven't given it the chance to work. And actually, one of the biggest problems is overwhelm. You can read so many books. The amount of personal development books out there is phenomenal. And the more information you consume without applying it, the more likely you are to end up feeling overwhelmed by just a sheer amount of knowledge. You end up getting into the state of paralysis by analysis, where you're just overthinking everything and it's too difficult to take a step forward. But on the other hand, when you start to take action, even small steps, you start to see progress. That progress starts to build slowly. It starts to compound. It builds momentum. And that momentum is what keeps you motivated. It's like a snowball effect. It starts off small, and the more you do it, the bigger it gets. The more you roll that snowball of personal development, adding new things into the mix, trying out new techniques, new things which you can implement, that's when the snowball gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so that's what you need to start doing. And here are 5 ways to get motivated to start shifting your mindset and start taking action. These, again, quite simple, because my whole ethos is to change your life. You don't need to make big changes. It's the small changes that add up. Start small, but start today. Don't wait until you've learnt enough. You can start today. Take a small step. If you've been reading about how to be more disciplined, start by setting one simple daily habit you can stick to, whether it's making your bed, journaling for 5 minutes, meditating, or just resetting a room, cleaning up after yourself. Actions create results, no matter how small. The next thing is set implementation goals, not just learning goals. It's easy to set goals like, I want to read 20 books this year. But what if you said, for each book I read, I'm going to implement 1 lesson from each book? You end up then shifting your focus from just accumulating knowledge to applying it. For example, if you're reading about morning routines, commit to trying a morning routine for yourself. Figure out what morning routine works for you and just implement it consistently. The third thing is create accountability. Tell someone. Go on the journey with someone. Create a book club. If you want to join a book club, for all you men out there, if you're listening, I've got a Facebook group, a Facebook community called Lads and Dads, where we hold each other accountable, where we support each other, and where we challenge each other. So drop me a message if you're interested at just.live.coaching on Instagram. I'll send you the link. But yeah, create accountability. Find someone who will go on the journey with you. Tell someone about what you're learning. Share it. Tell them what you're about to do. Because when you have an accountability partner, it increases your chances of achieving your goals by up to 65%. It could be a friend, a family member. For me, I have a coach because I think it's been one of the most beneficial things. Have someone who you can check in with, who will push you when you need to take action. The fourth thing is visualize the end result. Don't just focus on the steps you need to take. Although it's important to know the steps you need to take and to give yourself that pat on the back when you take the steps, but also visualize the end result. Imagine what your life will look like if you actually apply the things you're learning. How will it feel when you're more confident? How will it feel when you're more disciplined, or you're you're healthier? Visualization actually makes the process feel more real, and it actually gives you something to work towards. And the final thing, I find this the biggest thing for me, is track your progress. Keep track of the changes you're making, even if they're small. Write them down in a journal, use a habit tracker, just use a piece of paper stuck to the wall. When you see how far you've come, it actually boosts your motivation to keep going. Plus, as I said, celebrating the small wins, it makes the process of personal development a lot more fun, a lot more rewarding. You cannot always see your end goal beyond the horizon, but you can always turn around and see where you came from. So, personal development is so much more than just knowing your stuff. It's actually about doing. The books you read, the podcasts you listen to, the seminars, the courses you attend, none of it will change your life unless you actually take the lessons that you get from it and apply them. So what is one thing where you've learned recently which you can apply today? Don't be a collector of knowledge, be an implementer of knowledge. Remember, progress isn't made by thinking about change, it's made by taking action. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if this episode inspired you to start taking action, please share it with a friend or post it on social media. Let's actually try and get people to start changing their lives by actually implementing the things that they're learning. So until next time, take that first step towards a life you want. And remember, you've got the power to make it happen. So that's what I've got for you today. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at just.live.coaching for more tips on how to master your mindset so you can master your life. So until next time, keep seeking, keep going, and keep mastering your mindset to master your life. Thank you.